A lot of players have talent, but few have the relentless drive to bring it every single night. Larry Bird had that rare gift, the ability to show up every game, fully dialed in, understanding that the Celtics didn't just pay him to play basketball, they paid him to win.
Giants.
I said
right?
one thing I have that a lot of people don't have, there's a lot of players have it. I had the ability to play every night. I brought it every night.
Yeah.
I had a good understanding that Celtics paid me to win basketball. It was my job to win basketball.
Bird is remembered not only as one of the most skilled players in history, but as one of the fiercest competitors the game has ever seen. A perfect storm of grit, precision, and an iron will to triumph. But don't get it twisted. He didn't earn the nickname Larry Legend by playing nice. Bird thrived on rivalry, on trash talk, on battles that pushed his opponents to their breaking point. And while he respected many of the greats he faced, there were 6 players who got under his skin in ways few others could. Men who challenged his patience, provoked his fire, and in some cases sparked grudges that lasted a lifetime. These weren't just games. They were personal tests, and Bird never lost one. This is the kind of story that makes basketball more than a game at Amazing Hoops. It's the rivalries, the grudges, the moments when respect is earned the hard way, and every slight becomes fuel for greatness. So if you love the sport, if you crave the drama, the intensity, and the legends at their fiercest, hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and join us courtside. And right now, without wasting another second, these are the top 5 NBA legends Larry Bird hated the most, and how each one lit the fire that made him one of the most unstoppable competitors the game has ever seen. Larry Bird wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the highest leaper, he didn't rely on sheer athleticism to dominate the game. Yet from 1979 to 1992, Bird transformed the Boston Celtics into perennial contenders, winning 3 NBA titles, claiming 3 Most Valuable Player awards, and earning 12 All-Star selections along the way. What set him apart, however, wasn't merely the statistics. It was his iron will, his mental fortitude, and the fire that burned hotter whenever he faced adversity. Bird thrived on challenge, on tension, on the kind of friction that made ordinary players crumble. I liked when guys talk trash. Bird once confessed, it got me going, made me play harder, made me show who I was. In a league teeming with bruisers, egos, and towering superstars, Bird didn't just confront opponents. He studied them, analyzed them, and let their flaws fuel his brilliance. Among all the players he faced, 5 men stood out, not merely as competitors, but as catalysts for Bird's fiercest performances. They annoyed him, disrespected him, and in some cases, genuinely hated him. From Bill Laimbeer's physical intimidation to Isiah Thomas's verbal jabs, from Michael Cooper's relentless defense to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's subtle snubs, and even Magic Johnson's early, ever-present grin, these rivals forced Larry Legend to rise higher, push harder, and reveal facets of his game that might have remained dormant without them. Commentators of the era captured it perfectly. Johnny Kerr noted, "Bird didn't just play basketball. He played human chess. Every rival was a move he had to anticipate, respect, and exploit." The question lingers, can greatness truly shine without enemies to ignite it, or is conflict the secret ingredient that transforms skill into legend? When you think of Larry Bird's fiercest adversaries, one name towers above the rest: Bill Laimbeer. In the pantheon of NBA villains, Laimbeer was the epitome of the bad boys Detroit Pistons, relentless, physical, and unapologetically brutal. Every game against him felt like a battle, where the lines between basketball and war were blurred. Bird wasn't one to shy away from contact. In fact, he thrived on it. But Laimbeer's tactics weren't just physical. They were calculated, cheap, and designed to provoke. He was a disgrace to basketball. Bird said years later, his voice still sharp with disdain. And Bird didn't just speak in generalities. He remembered exactly how Laimbeer crossed the line.
It's because he was a dirty player. Man, he had to do what he had to do, I understand that.
The tension first erupted in the 1985 Eastern Conference semifinals, the series that lit the fuse for what would later become one of the NBA's most bitter rivalries. The Celtics and Pistons battled through 6 bruising games. Boston ultimately prevailed 4-2, but the physicality left scars on both sides. Bird averaged 27.2 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game. His relentless play, a direct answer to Detroit's pounding defense. Laimbeer fouled out 3 times in 6 games, a testament to his reckless style and refusal to yield. But the rivalry's true explosion came 2 years later, in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals. The moment when words turned into fists and respect turned into hate. The iconic brawl during Game 3 still lives in NBA lore. A brutal foul by Laimbeer sent Bird crashing to the floor. Bird retaliated by throwing the ball at him, and chaos engulfed the court. The league fined both players, but the message was clear. The era of the bad boys had arrived. As journalist John Feinstein wrote, Bird respected toughness, but he didn't respect Laimbeer, because Laimbeer wasn't tough, he was dirty. Laimbeer himself would later admit that this wasn't an accident. It was the Pistons' entire philosophy, as he explained years later on ESPN.
Win championships. That's all that really mattered to us. Our style of play was, everybody called it ugly and they called it ruining the game. But reality says that we changed the game. Yeah, it was twofold. One, you couldn't let him dominate the game because, he could at times. So make him shoot jump shots. You don't want to shoot jump shots. You want to come in the paint. Well, you pay the price.
Even decades later, Bird refused to soften his view. He never uttered a kind word about Laimbeer, never offered forgiveness. Facing Laimbeer wasn't just about basketball. It was a test of endurance, composure, and willpower. For viewers watching today, one must ask, how do you stay composed when every play feels like a personal attack? How do you channel fury into brilliance, as Bird did night after night? Laimbeer himself acknowledged the tension, admitting in interviews that he played with an edge. But the edge always cut deeper against opponents like Bird. ESPN commentators have noted that the 1985 Celtics-Pistons series was a turning point in how physicality and mind games shaped playoff basketball, a moment where the cerebral game met unrelenting aggression. Bird's performance in that series remains a blueprint for overcoming not just opponents, but chaos itself. The question lingers. Could any player today withstand a series where every foul carries an emotional weight, heavier than the scoreboard? That is the legacy of Bill Laimbeer, the dirtiest disgrace, a rivalry that transcended sport and became a test of character, intellect, and heart. If Bill Laimbeer represented the physical threat that ignited Bird's fury, Isiah Thomas was the one who cut deeper into his pride. The Celtics, Pistons rivalry of the late 1980 season was already intense, defined by bruising games, verbal jabs, and a battle of wills. But Thomas added a new, personal dimension. After a tense Eastern Conference clash in 1987, Thomas made a remark that reverberated through the league. If Bird was black, he'd be just another good guy. Those words were more than a provocative comment.
He said, hey man, you can't put no white dude on me.
Hey,
that is straight disrespect, right? He said, don't put no white dude on me. So check this out. So the next year we come back, I said, I got somebody for your ass, right?
Yeah.
He said, who you got? I said, Robin. He said, okay, he's a little better. He said, but don't ever put no white dude on me because that is disrespectful.
They were a challenge, a direct affront to Bird's identity and the respect he had painstakingly earned on the court. Bird, a man who measured everything by effort, integrity, and execution, did not take it lightly.
This is probably one of the most incredible plays probably I've ever witnessed. From an athletic standpoint, two people being in sync, and just Bird just playing every second. And that's what the Celtics taught us. Not to play 47 and a half minutes, but to play a full 48.
That wasn't about basketball. That was about disrespect, he later said, his voice carrying both hurt and resolve. It was a moment that transcended the game, transforming every Celtics-Pistons matchup that followed into a battle not just for victory, but for personal vindication. Detroit's Jordan Rules defensive scheme had already earned infamy for punishing superstars, and Bird became a central target alongside Michael Jordan. Every drive, every post move, every catch meant anticipating contact, punishment, and intimidation. The Pistons prided themselves on playing smart, aggressive, and sometimes ruthless basketball, but against Bird, they encountered a mind that could match their brutality with precision. In the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals, Boston eked out a 4-3 series victory, with Bird averaging a staggering 27.4 points, 10 rebounds, and 7.6 assists per game, a statistical testament to his mastery under pressure. Yet numbers alone cannot capture the tension. The eyes locking across the court, The palpable electricity as each Celtics Pistons clash unfolded. Commentators like Johnny Kerr noted, "Every time Bird touched the ball, you felt the intensity in the arena. He carried the weight of personal pride into every possession." The apex of this rivalry, and perhaps one of the most iconic plays in NBA playoff history, came in Game 5. With seconds left on the clock, Bird anticipated Thomas's inbound pass, stealing it, and turning it into a decisive scoring opportunity. The Garden erupted. Fans and teammates alike held their breath, knowing they had witnessed something rare, a moment where intellect, anticipation, and raw courage intersected to defy a brutal opponent. Bird later reflected, "When you played Detroit, you had to expect to get hit. You just hoped you could walk out of there." Every steal, every shot, every rebound became an assertion of dominance against a team that sought to break him, both physically and emotionally. In retrospect, the Bird-Thomas rivalry serves as a lesson in resilience and the personal dimension of competition. How do you respond when the challenge goes beyond the scoreboard? When words sting as deeply as elbows? For Bird, the answer was always excellence, poise, and a silent yet unmistakable declaration. Disrespect would not prevail on his court. It's a rivalry that reminds fans that the most potent battles are often fought not just in points or plays, but in the heart. Not every player on Larry Bird's hate list inspired anger because of dirty play. Some inspired it because of relentless excellence, a constant, inescapable challenge that pushed Bird to the edge. For him, that player was Michael Cooper, the Los Angeles Lakers' defensive ace. Cooper wasn't about throwing elbows, cheap fouls, or intimidation. He was about discipline, anticipation, and mental mastery. Bird once compared him to a mosquito. You swatted him, but he keeps coming back. And in those words lies the essence of Bird's frustration.
You know, he has said that I'm the toughest player he's had ever guarded him, and I have to say Larry is the best.
Cooper's specialty wasn't bruising Bird physically, like the Pistons, but exhausting him mentally, making every dribble, every fake, and every drive a calculated battle. Cooper's defensive credentials speak volumes. 8 all-defensive team selections, the 1987 Defensive Player of the Year, and a reputation for sticking to the best scorer on the opposing team made him the perfect foil to Bird's offensive brilliance. In every finals matchup from 1984 through 1987, Cooper's task was singular. Make Bird work for every single point, never give him space, and anticipate his every move. Bird, who thrived under pressure, found himself constantly adjusting, reading, and recalibrating. Each play felt like a chess match, a duel of wits and willpower as much as skill.
He looks at me and he goes, "Cooper, get ready to wear your ass out." So I get in my best defensive stance, and he's on the bottom, and Robert Parrish comes down and set a pick on him. And Larry goes off the pick, and I fight through the pick, and I'm there. And as soon as he catches the ball, he turns and it goes up. And Kareem, knowing that, Kareem steps off of Parrish, so we got him. And I'm saying to myself, I got this fucker, man. I got him. I'm getting ready to pack his shot. So we both go up, Kareem and I, and Larry's up in the air. And I don't know how he got this ball between our hands, but he hits Robert Parrish with a great pass, and Parrish scores. And as Parrish scores, we're going down the court. I told you, motherfucker. That pissed me off so bad.
Cooper explained what made Bird such a unique challenge on the court.
Larry was different than that. Larry could get rid of the basketball, but he was going to go get an offensive rebound. He was going to set a back pick for his teammate. He was going to do something, assist. He didn't always have to score. So you always had to pay attention to him. And
Cooper shadowed Bird's fakes, cut off passing lanes, and denied easy shots. And yet all of this was done with the precision of a surgeon rather than the chaos of a brawler. Commentators at the time marveled at the dynamic. Johnny Kerr remarked, "Cooper had the patience of a saint and the persistence of a predator. Bird might have scored 30 points, but every one of them felt like a victory." Magic Johnson added, "Michael made the greats earn it. Bird respected that because he understood the game. It was frustrating with respect." This respect, however, didn't dampen the intensity. Every game against Cooper required Bird to tap into reserves of focus, creativity, and stamina that few defenders ever forced him to summon. Every clutch shot, every drive to the hoop, every assist was earned in the presence of a defender who refused to relent. The tension between Bird and Cooper wasn't fueled by malice. It was admiration wrapped in challenge. It created moments of suspense that defined the Celtics-Lakers rivalry, from the 1984 finals, where Bird's Celtics overcame the Lakers' pressure, to 1987, when the mental and physical toll of Cooper's defense tested him to the limits. Bird's ability to succeed against Cooper elevated the drama of the series, making each basket feel like a triumph over both talent and strategy. It begs the question, when skill and persistence collide, can frustration transform into greatness? When it comes to rivals, not every feud is forged in fists or insults. Some simmer quietly, in gestures, words left unsaid, and respect withheld. For Larry Bird, that rival was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, a 6-time MVP, and a man whose skyhook became as feared as any defensive scheme. Unlike the bad boys of Detroit or the relentless Michael Cooper, Kareem wasn't antagonistic, dirty, or brash. Yet Bird always sensed an invisible wall between them. "I never felt Kareem respected what we did as a team," Bird once admitted in interviews with Sports Illustrated.
Larry Bird could do anything.
And that lack of acknowledgement gnawed at him. But Kareem himself once described Larry in striking terms.
I remember the game he played against the Lakers the first year that the Celtics won the World Championship with him on the team. And he was ridiculous. He came on here. I remember our sportscaster played the Superman theme when he was talking about him that night after the game because he did everything, points, rebounds, assists, just steals, you name it. Larry has such a great mind for the game and, a great touch. I had a lot of respect for him as a competitor.
And he was one of the biggest trash talkers that you'll ever see in your life.
In Bird's world, basketball wasn't just about skill. It was about honor, effort, and mutual recognition. Kareem's subtle distance felt like a quiet insult. The Celtics, Lakers' rivalry of the 1980 season, only amplified this tension. Each finals matchup, 1984, 1985, 1987, was a masterclass in skill, stamina, and strategy. Bird averaged roughly 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists per game across these series, while Kareem anchored the Lakers' dominance with his signature skyhook, unmatched footwork, and court vision. And yet, amidst the sweat and intensity, Bird felt that Kareem carried himself like royalty, often making sly comments that suggested the Celtics bent the rules to gain an edge. Bird, a man who demanded fairness and integrity, internalized these subtle digs as personal slights. Commentators of the era recognized the quiet tension. Dick Stockton remarked, "Watching Bird and Kareem face off wasn't just about points or rebounds. It was about pride, legacy, and who commanded respect on the floor." Even Magic Johnson admitted, "You could see the competitiveness in every glance. There was mutual admiration, but Kareem's aloofness added a layer of fire to Bird's game." These finals battles were epic not just for the plays, but for the psychological warfare. Every rebound grabbed, every shot contested, every post-game handshake carried weight. Bird respected Kareem's greatness but craved acknowledgement for his own team's accomplishments. The tension created a unique, almost cinematic drama. Two legends pushing each other to the limit, each aware of the other's genius, yet never fully bridging the gap of camaraderie. And that tension made every Celtics-Lakers showdown feel monumental. It raises the question, can two of the greatest minds in basketball history ever truly appreciate each other when pride and perception collide? Among all of Larry Bird's rivalries, none was as paradoxical as the one with Magic Johnson. Today, they are celebrated as icons of friendship who revived the NBA and brought the league global fame. But it wasn't always that way. Early on, Bird openly admitted he didn't like Magic at all. In fact, he questioned the authenticity of the man's perpetual smile. Their history began on March 26, 1979, in the NCAA Championship. A game still remembered as the most-watched college basketball contest ever, with a staggering 35 million viewers tuning in. Bird's Indiana State faced Magic's Michigan State in what was billed as a clash of styles. Bird's methodical, blue-collar precision against Magic's electrifying fast-break brilliance. Michigan State emerged victorious, led by Magic's charismatic court presence and unrelenting playmaking. Magic's grin was everywhere, on the court, in press conferences, in every highlight reel, and Bird thought it was staged. "Nobody's that nice," he later said, a statement that revealed just how deeply he misread Magic's personality. That perception carried into the NBA, where the rivalry only intensified. Throughout the 1980 season, Bird's Boston Celtics met Magic's Los Angeles Lakers in 3 NBA Finals: 1984, 1985, and 1987. Each series was a battle of contrasting identities, East versus West, workmanlike grit against Hollywood flair, unyielding discipline versus infectious charm. Bird, the stoic, intense competitor, scowled at Magic's constant smile, seeing it as arrogance rather than confidence. Sports writers captured the dynamic. Peter Vexey wrote, "Bird's glare could pierce glass, and Magic's grin seemed to mock it. Every meeting was a psychological duel before the first tip." Even Magic himself remembered those psychological battles. One play captured Bird's trash-talking brilliance perfectly.
He said, "I'm gonna wait till you get one step away from me and I'm gonna shoot it right in your face." No, true story. So I got one step away. He shoots it all net. 3-pointer, good. Then he turned to me and said, "You did all that running for nothing."
Yet, as fierce as the rivalry was, it pushed both players to transcend their limits. Bird refined his precision. Magic elevated his leadership. Each finals matchup became a chess game of strategy, skill, and personality. And the nation watched every move, every misstep, every triumphant shot. Over time, that animosity slowly softened into mutual respect, forged through relentless competition and shared stakes. By the mid-1980 season, they began appearing together in media campaigns, including the iconic 1986 Converse Choose Your Weapon commercials, a playful nod to their rivalry. In 1992, they would unite as co-captains of the legendary Dream Team, cementing a friendship that decades of fans could only dream of witnessing. Yet, the question lingers: how often do we misread greatness because of charm, smiles, or personality? Bird once admitted that early disdain for Magic taught him about the complexities of respect. Sometimes, the hardest rival to understand becomes the most enduring ally. What made Larry Bird more than just a great player wasn't only his skill. It was his mind, his hunger, and his ability to turn opposition into opportunity. Each rivalry, each conflict, was a mirror reflecting his deepest competitiveness. Bill Laimbeer's punishing elbows, Isiah Thomas's cutting words, Rick Mahorn's aggressive fouls, Michael Cooper's relentless defense, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's distant cool, and even Magic Johnson's ever-present smile. All of these weren't annoyances. They were fuel. They became crucibles in which Bird's legendary focus, cunning, and resilience were forged. Through these battles, Bird didn't just rack up numbers. He carved his legacy into the history of the NBA. Three-time NBA champion in 1981, 1984, and 1986. Three-time league MVP from 1984 through 1986. 12-time All-Star Hall of Famer, and remembered as one of the sharpest trash talkers in the game. "I hate losing more than I like winning," Bird once said. And in every confrontation, every slight, every challenge, that sentiment was evident. Commentators like Johnny Kerr remarked, "Bird turned frustration into artistry." He made every game a chess match where only the most focused survived. These rivalries weren't just personal. They were defining. They shaped a competitor who understood that greatness isn't given. It's earned through fire, pressure, and unyielding will. And watching Bird rise from every test, one can't help but ask, can today's stars even imagine competing under that kind of intensity? Larry Bird's hate wasn't petty. It was fuel. It pushed him past pain, past doubt, into greatness. If you were Bird, which rival would have gotten under your skin the most? The dirty fouls of Laimbeer? The disrespect of Isiah? Or the endless grin of Magic? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to not miss the latest videos from Amazing Hoops. This action also motivates us to try harder. Have a nice day.